There are different ways to push the project data to the newly created Git repository. Out of these different ways, today we are going to discuss one of the ways to push the project related data to the newly created Git repository. And the way is using the Git Init command. For this purpose, definitely we will need a newly created Git repository. Now, depends on which cloud hosting service you are using, the creation of new repository can be different. As shown on the screen, right now I am on my GitHub profile, and over here, if you want to create a new repository, you just need to click on this new button. So today we will see that how to create a new repository in GitHub, GitLab and BitBucket. So first I will show with GitHub. Over here, click on this new, then owner, who is the owner of this repository, then its name. This is the create demo repository. Okay, whatever the description you want to write, like create a demo repository for YouTube video. Then rather you want to make this repository public or private. So I want to make it private. Then initialize this repository with add a readme file. So it depends on you, like rather you want this readme file or not. Then add this .gitignore file. So this gitignore file will make sure that the extension or the folder you have mentioned in this .gitignore file are not going to be included in the Git tracking mechanism. So that you can see over here, choose which files not to track from a list of templates. Then license, like which license you want to use. So based on your work, you can choose different license template given over here, and then just click on create repository. So on GitHub, we have got this new repository. Now let's see about the GitLab. So in GitLab, if you want to create a new repository, you need to click on this button, new project, because generally in GitLab, new repository equal to new project. And again, you need to provide a template. So it can be like a blank project from template you want to use, or create the project, import project from some another source. So here I'm going to click on this create blank project. Over here, project name will be create demo repository, repo. Then project URL. So the project URL is like under which section you want to put this project. So I have few groups and I have this user, so I want to put this particular repository under this URL. So my project URL or repository URL will be look something like this. Then project deployment target. Right now there is no target, so I will leave it as it is. Visibility level, again I will make it private. Then initialize repository with readme, so I will put it as it is, and then we'll click on create project. And in GitLab as well, we have got the new repository. Now let's talk about BitBucket. So in BitBucket, there is a big difference between a project and a repository. Project will be used to group repositories. As I had mentioned in my earlier videos, that a project can have multiple repositories based on the requirement. So over here, project is different than repository. So I will click on this create repository option, project name. So under which project name I want to create this repository. So I will say demo project. Okay, let me put it in the small letters, demo project. Then repository name, create demo repo. Definitely I want to make it private repository. Include a readme, so yes, with a tutorial, and over here you have different option. Then default branch name, it will be main. So I'm just going to give it master, something different. And include git ignore. So yes, please include the git ignore. If you want to add some description, you can use that. Then forking, so allow only private folks, allow folks, or no folks. So rather you want other users of BitBucket to fork your repository or not, that you can decide over here. So I will put it as it is, and language you can select if you want, and then create repository. And over here you will get a newly created repository in BitBucket with this gitignore and readme file. So you can see that this particular repository is under demo project. Once we have created new repositories in each of these cloud-based service providers, in some of these cloud-based service providers like GitLab, we will get the steps that how to push the project related data to this newly created repository. So we start with this BitBucket. So in BitBucket, if you go down and click on this add, commit and push from the command line, you will get a bit of idea that how to push the data from the local repository to this newly created repository. Then in this GitLab, you will see that in this readme.md file, they have included the steps that how to push the project data in this newly created repository. Okay, so this is the steps that you will get from GitLab itself. Okay, and in GitHub, there is no such steps. So then you need to follow the steps that I am going to provide today. Now, irrespective of which cloud-based service providers service you are using, the steps that I am going to mention today will be universal. Also, irrespective of which operating system you are using, the steps that I am going to mention today will be universal. So this was the first step, like to have a newly created repository. Then second step is to have a folder. Now this folder might contain existing project data or might not contain any kind of the data. So first of all, what I will do is I will go to a particular directory, a folder over here. So this is my local system. Over here I have this folder called create new repo, and within this folder I have two more folders containing some files which is related to tesseract OCR on Linux and Windows. So consider that this is my existing project data that I want to push to the newly created repository. One thing to note over here that we have three scenarios over here. First is you have existing working project data, and that project data you want to push to this newly created repository. Second scenario is you can create a blank folder, and from that particular folder open the terminal and execute the steps that I am going to mention in a while. Third step is create a blank folder, write some code, have some scripts, folders, files and everything, and again from that folder open a terminal and execute the commands that I am going to show in a while. On all these three scenarios, the steps will remain same. So first of all, what I will do is I will open the terminal from this folder which I want to push the data to this newly created repository. Over here at present, if we type this command ls-lha, there is no hidden folders over here like .git. So right now this is not the Git repository. It is the normal folder, normal repository available on my local machine. Then I want to make it a Git repository, and I want to push the data of this particular folder to this newly created repository. So first command that I am going to execute is Git Init. You can see this message that initialize empty Git repository at this particular location. So now if I execute this command ls-lha again, you will see .git, that is the hidden folder in the Linux operating system. Also over here you can see this message that right now it has selected master as the default branch name. In case if you want to change it, you can use this option. Means if you want to change the name of this master branch, you can use this option git branch -m and then name that you want to provide to this branch. Next thing that I am going to do is I will create a file called .gitignore. So I will create that file .gitignore, and over here I will mention one line like .idea. So like if you open any project or any folder in PyCharm, in that case you might have noticed that that folder will contain this hidden folder called .idea. So using this .gitignore file, I am telling to the Git that I don't want to track this .idea folder, so exclude it from the tracking mechanism. So I will save it and I will close it. Then the next command that I am going to use is git add dot. So by this command I am saying to Git that include all the files and folders available in this particular current folder. Okay, now if I say git status, so you can see that the message on branch master, no commits yet, and changes to be committed. So now using this git add dot command, I have included all the files and folders available in this particular current working directory or current folder. Then I will use the next command, git commit -m, okay, and it will be like initial commit. Okay, now when I am doing this, it has given me the message that your name and email address were configured automatically based on your username and host name. So in case I want to change or do anything related to this email address and name, I can do this with this particular command. Okay, so right now I'm going with as it is. Then the next command that I am going to use is Git Remote Add Origin. So let me close this. So over here, if you have seen my earlier video which is related to Git terminologies, in that I had mentioned that Git Remote Add Origin. So origin is the alias name that we are going to give to the remote tracking URL. So after this origin alias name, we need to provide the URL which we need to utilize for the tracking mechanism. So okay, I will pick this BitBucket to push all the changes of my local folder or local repository to this BitBucket newly created repositories, and by that way I will make this BitBucket newly created repository as my central or remote tracking repository or upstream repository. So now to get the URL of this particular repository, what I will do is I will click on this and okay, let me say git clone, and over here yeah, this is the repository that I need to use. So I will copy this, copy, close, and over here I will paste it. Okay, Git Remote Add Origin is the alias name and then the URL. After adding the remote repository with origin alias name on my local system, the next command that I need to use is git pull. Okay, so over here it will ask for the username and password. So the password I need to provide. Okay, and it says that authentication failed. So let me see what I need to do is, okay, so the one thing that I'm doing wrong over here is, if you see this particular message that BitBucket Cloud recently stopped supporting account password for Git authentication. So what I need to do is I need to create another password or token by visiting this particular link. So I will go to this particular link. Okay, let me open it in Google over here as I am already being logged in. Okay, so over here you can see that create app password. So I will click on this, create app password, label. So authentication password, that is the label I will use. Now what are the permissions that I want to attach with this particular password? So I will use it for all the things like pull, push, and all those things, all these pipelines, and for everything. So I am going to click each and every option available over here. Okay, and then I will click create. Okay, so I just need to save this password. So I will copy it, and then I am going to go over here in this repository. I will create a blank document and then just write down the password, save it, and then I will click on close. Yeah, and then again I'm going to, okay, so over here I need to provide the password, Control V. Okay, and yeah, okay, so As I have mentioned that as my remote repository of BitBucket contain few files like readme.md and .gitignore, in that case I need to execute this command. Okay, so it is like this: git branch dash u, which is the short form of dash dash set dash upstream, then origin and master. So by this command we are saying to the Git that use this origin URL, and within that URL this particular master branch as my upstream branch, upstream remote repository tracking branch. Then as the message is there that branch master setup to track origin master, so I will execute this next command: git fetch. Again I will provide the password, then git rebase, enter, and you can see that we have got an error like could not apply the initial commit, conflicted this particular file. Over here we have got the error in this .gitignore file. The reason being BitBucket has already provided this .gitignore file, and within that file it has provided us few files or folders that will be excluded by default. And what I have done is I have created my own .gitignore file, and then I have added one line on the same place where there are some details already mentioned in the BitBucket repository. This is my .gitignore file. Okay, so this kind of the symbols you will see whenever you will see that there is an issue with merging. But the aim of the sentence which I am saying is, what I have done is on the same line, like on this line earlier I have written .idea, and on the same line from BitBucket it has got this line. There are some examples of commonly ignored file patterns. So over here Git is not able to decide that which changes it should remain and which changes it should exclude, and that's why the error. So what I will do is I need all those changes like from BitBucket as well as from my side. So what I will do is I will just remove these symbols as saying that okay, I need these details. I will save this file. Then again I will go to this terminal. Over here you can see that what I need to do is, once I have resolved the conflicts manually, I need to add this file again. So what I will do is git add, then .gitignore. Okay, and then again I will say git rebase dash dash continue. So all this command written over here. Okay, and it is just the normal file which shows us what is the commit message I should write. So I will put it as it is, and then I will close it, git rebase, and then finally I can write this command git push. I will need to provide the password, enter, and yeah, it's done. So you can see that now this particular repository contains all the files and folders from my local repository, from my local system. Let me go to this GitHub, and over here again it has got the readme.md. So what I will do is I will just remove this readme.md file just to showcase the steps that I am mentioning. And what I will do is, okay, so instead of deleting this particular file, because if I delete this file then again it will create some new commit, and in that case again I need to repeat the steps that I have just done. Because if you create a file, if you delete a file, all these things will have some tracking information, they will have some commit ID. So again it will raise an error that the local repository does not contain the changes from the remote repository. So what I will do is I will again create some new repository over here. So yeah, new repository over here, temporary repository. It will be private. Add readme, no, so I don't want to add any kind of readme file. Git ignore, no, do not add git ignore file, and create repository. As you can see, the steps that I was referring, that what you need to do is git init, git add instead of this readme.md, you can just use dot, then commit, branch, remote, push. Okay, so let me do the same thing over here. So now right now if I see git remote dash v, so it is actually a Git repository which is tracking this particular remote branch. So what I will do is I will remove this .git hidden folder, sudo rm.rf.git. okay, so using this command I will make my local repository again a normal repository, a normal folder instead of Git repository. So now if I say Git status, you can see that not a Git repository. So again I will use this command Git Init, then Git add dot means use all the files and folders available in this particular local system, then Git Commit, this is the initial commit. Okay, then Git Remote Add Origin, and then the URL, so it is available over here. Paste, enter, and then Git push dash u origin master, enter. Okay, again over here I need to provide the password. Oh sorry, it's asking for the username, so let me see what is my username. It's Nayan Kumar, and its password, enter. Oops, authentication failed from this terminal. I will execute this command again. Over here I need to provide the username and token, and it's done. So now if you see over here, you can see that all the files and folders which were there on my local are available now on this GitHub repository. That's it for the day. Thank you for watching this video.